Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lasham Daily Briefing for Saturday, the 9th of May, 2026. Starting with the synoptic midnight last night. Clear patch here where we are in the south of the UK at the moment. Vaguely high pressure still remaining the dominant feature. And quite a few frontal systems surrounding, low pressure to the north and south. And then we've got this reasonable high out in the middle of the Atlantic at the moment. That's pushing its way in and driving down with it some of this lower pressure air here. And this fairly established cold front coming in from the north. That's very slow moving, I suspect. If we just move that on briefly there, you can see, and into midday today. Not a great deal of progression on that, so I'm not anticipating any issues from that today, although it may make its way in tomorrow. Looking into tomorrow, we can see that front creeping down slowly, and then early into next week, a little bit more unsettled weather. So back to today, however, looking at these sat pics here, see quite a lot of haze over the south of the UK at the moment, but otherwise mostly clear. Solid clouds as you get further and further north, particularly out into the North Sea. But we should have a relatively clear sort of upper picture by mid-morning. Rain radar, quite a lot going on down at the south there, and with all that rain that all that cloud, I beg your pardon, we saw on the sat pic, a bit of rain associated with that, but nothing in our area that's going to cause us any concern. And looking at the prediction for that, we'll just run that through from the Met Office. Not envisaging any concerns really with that rain today. Looking at their observation this morning, showing a very light northeasterly wind with poor visibility and some mist with only a 2-degree split there. And it's a little bit hazy at Lasham as well. Farnborough there, Taff showing northeasterly 5 knots, 1,300 meters viz with mist and no significant cloud, becoming Cab OK by between 9 and 10 o'clock this morning. So we can anticipate much the same here, really. It's fairly reflective of what we've been seeing, although not quite as bad as that. Winds aloft, easterly and slightly northeasterly to the south of us at 25 knots, 15 knots of flying heights in that region, and to the north a little bit calmer, around 5 knots at all of those flying heights as well. On the ground, northeasterly flows you can see here across the airfield, and that's fairly consistent throughout much of the day, fairly light. Met Office here is showing only about 7 knots in the warmest, in the peak of the day, with maybe a gust up towards 17, but more or less direct easterly or east-northeasterly. UV warning very high on the index today from about 11 o'clock onwards. We're seeing 5, so do take care. GFS there showing 18 or 19 degrees in the warmest part of the day with a dew point of 8. Presently, we're up to 10.8 with a dew point of 8, which is more or less in agreement with Odium. And looking at the webcam on the south side, you can see that sort of mist and haze settling down on the airfield there with the northeasterly breeze on the SOC there. We just need to get a little bit of heat in, that'll burn off, and everything will be well. Looking at the cross section here on SkySight, showing quite a good soarable period actually. Cumulus taking a little bit of time to get going, so it's soarable from sort of late morning and Q from similar time, but close to sort of lunchtime, maybe 1 o'clock. And that's good Q base around about 6,000 feet for much of the day, possibly a bit of overdevelopment or other cloud coming in there towards about 4 o'clock, but it should still remain soarable, albeit slightly weaker. Top Meteo starting here in the thermal map from 9 o'clock local, showing by 11 o'clock soarable up to in excess of 3,500 feet blue, with cumulus starting to creep in around about midday 1 o'clock, more or less in agreement with SkySight. There's certainly patches of blue, best area along the south here. That then coming up to further a bit north and northwest as well, and showing that was up to 2,000 meters there, so about 6,500 feet. So certainly a good day and a reasonable area. Some blue, but a fair bit of cumulus as well. No, Tams, looking at that, nothing to affect us locally or cross country, really. We've got the Fairford TMZ, as we're all aware of, and that's a few paragliding areas and small arms ranges. So we'll move on to the local brief. Start with glider bookings, just one K21 on booked flying today, and there's a K21 and a K13 for the youth group. We've also got a K21 on the casual list and a K13 for trial lessons, and there is some single-seater availability remaining. At the moment, we've got 5 on the casual list with no instructor, so if anyone's around and is looking to do a bit of flying, your help would be greatly appreciated. And we're not expecting any movements today. Reminder about the second grid for this Alpine Grand Prix. If you've got an 18 or 20 meter glider and you want to partake in the Lasham Grand Prix grids, then please do book in while you still can. Okay, wave expedition down to Boynes, or plenty of spaces, so get booked up while you can. Any questions, Ron Barrier or I? All right, so in summary, we've got low pressure to the north and the south with high pressure to the east and west. We've got an established cold front approaching from the north, but not anticipating any issues with that. Expecting good soaring conditions with cumulus starting a little bit later, blue to begin with, and a moderate easterly flow. We'll operate runway 09 normal ops with cables on the south side. As always, doing land or taxi across the disused runways shown here in red. There's our airfield set up to finish with grid in the usual place in the top corner, winching south of the runway on the grass, air towing club north of the centre line, and self-launches, please, gridding along the runway here behind towards the 09 threshold and call up before start and taxi. That's all from me this morning. We'll see you out there very shortly. Let's have a good day and keep it safe. Thank you.